A very good evening and a very warm welcome to the Buddhist Mahavira's Facebook page. As usual, we are going live on our Dhammadana series, and today is Friday, and we have a very distinguished speaker this evening with us. This speaker is with us for the first time here on the Dhammadana series, and we are so grateful and glad that this professor, uh, his name is Dr. G.A. Somaratne from Hong Kong, who's based in Hong Kong currently, but he's a Sri Lankan by nationality, to have joined us to speak with us on a very interesting subject, something we have not touched on previously. Tonight's topic is called Understanding the Relationship Between Consciousness and Name and Matter, or we know it better as Nama Rupa. So, without much ado, I'd like to invite our speaker this evening, Dr. Somaratne, to the studio. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening.
How are you? How are you?
Fine, thank you. And,
Good.
thank
You're
you,
very,
Brother Tilak Leslie, for the invitation and also for introducing me this
yeah.
evening.
We have to thank Bante Vinita actually,
Yeah,
Sri
when,
Lanka, for
yeah, when
connecting us. Yes, yes.
yeah.
So for those of you who are not familiar with Dr. Somaratne, even myself, this is the first time we're actually meeting up with Dr. Somaratne. Let me quickly read Doctor's profile, so we understand a bit about the background about Doctor. Now, Dr. G.A. Somaratne is an associate professor in Buddhist Studies at the Center of Buddhist Studies at the University of Hong Kong. Prior to the current position, he was co-director of the Dhammachai Tipitaka project in Thailand and also professor in Pali and Buddhist Studies at the University of Peradeniya in Sri Lanka. His research interests cover several areas of early Buddhism, from editing and translating canonical Pali texts to doctrinal studies and applied Buddhism. His major editing works is the PTS edition of the Samyutta Nikaya, Volume 1. In his current research, he is revisiting the doctrinal concepts of early Buddhism to present a theological discourse interpreting the Buddha's teachings presented in the Pali discourses as belonging to one systemic thought. Recently, he contributed to producing the Common Buddhist Text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha, published by the Maha Chulalongkorn Raja Vidyalala University Press in 2017. But this year, Dr. Somaratne has authored a new book called Buddhist Teachings, a Buddhist Analysis. Now, this is published by Palgrave Macmillan. So, if you need to get access to this book, you have to ask Dr. Somaratne how we can get access to this book. And today's topic, which is actually related to this new book that he has published. So, without much ado, I would like to invite the Doctor to start this evening's Dhamma sharing. Please, Doctor.
Okay, so thank you. I directly go to the topic. So today's topic is on the Buddha's teaching, and the topic is understanding the relationship between consciousness and name and matter. Why we want to discuss this? Because there is in the Mahanidana Sutta, in the book of long discourses, what you call Digha Nikaya, there is this statement with name and matter as conditioned consciousness, and with consciousness as conditioned name and matter. So in both ways, name and matter and consciousness is pointed out as a sort of mutual dependency. One depends on the other. So with name and matter as conditioned consciousness, and with consciousness as conditioned name and matter. So with this, I would like to explain a sensory experience. So how we can analyze a sensory experience so that we can clearly grasp what that statement of the Buddha means. For example, if we take seeing a tree or seeing a computer, seeing anything, there is a general structure of that experience, as Buddha point out. name and matter and consciousness. So our experience should be, whatever experience we take it to be, it should be name and matter and consciousness. In Pali, it's called Nama Rupa Saha Vijnana. So in an experience, one is conscious of name and matter. So one is conscious of Nama Rupa, name and matter. So one is conscious of a tree, for example. Tree is basically what we mean by name and matter. So one can say, I see a tree. So that means basically I am conscious of a tree. So a tree, we can reduce it to name and matter. So a tree, sensory object, is how a particular lump of matter becomes phenomenal. So a particular lump of matter become phenomenal to me. That means appears to me, or presented to me, or manifest to me. So in this name, this word name, we use the word Pali nama, is the totality of feelings, perceptions, and mental configurations. So I will explain them later. So when we see a tree, or we can say when I am conscious of name and matter. So in this case, matter, of course, you can understand as a lump of matter. But what is this name? So name is a reference to this totality of feeling, perceptions, and mental configurations. So nama, as you also can understand, it has the sense of designation or naming or designation. So in an experience, we designate any matter or sensory object, let's say a book or a tree, by considering how that matter or object or thing is felt or perceived or intended by the observer, so by us. So therefore, we designate matter through name. So we always give a name like a computer or telephone or a tree. So in this case, we are actually being conscious of a bundle of matter, or we can say aggregate of matter, and that bundle of matter is presented to us. So when it is presented to us, that presentation, that manifestation tells us how I have seen it, or I have intended towards it, or how I am feeling with regard to it. So this, to make it a little bit more clearer from the teachings of the Buddha, we can analyze an experience as I am conscious of name and matter, nama rupa. So nama rupa in this case, something. Or we can say I am conscious of four bodies, or in the worldly person or mundane person, four clinging aggregates. So what are these clinging aggregates? Aggregate of feeling, aggregate of perception, aggregate of configurations or mental configurations. So what is meant by mental configurations is intention, attention, and contact. And also matter part. So matter is basically matter consists of these four primary material behaviors. So in the Buddha's teaching, matter is analyzed into four, sometimes popularly called four great elements, or we can say, because the term is Bhuta, and four primary material behaviors: solidity, liquidity, heat, and motion, because these are the material forms that we can perceive. And also material objects. So the matter derived from those four primary material behaviors. So in an experience, I am conscious of feeling, perception, and mental configurations, and also matter. So if we classify these feeling, perception, configurations to be name, is nama, then you have matter. So what we are cognizing is name and matter. So in the Buddha's teaching, always name and matter is given together. So we'll also try to understand why they are presented together. So as name and matter, or nama rupa, in a compound word. So in a sensory experience, I am conscious of this name and matter. So here we can say I am conscious of an internal name and matter as well as external name and matter, because there are two matters that we are perceiving, two types of matter we are perceiving. One is what we call body, and the other is sensory object. So when I'm seeing a tree, in this case, I am conscious of a body, and also that means internal name and matter, and also I am conscious of an external tree, a sensory object. That is, we can say external name and matter, because both my body and the external sensory experience, so they both are two different matters, so types of matter. So in this case, internal matter also appears to me as name and matter. External matter also appears to me as name and matter. So in later you will find that Buddha says that in an experience we are actually experiencing two types of nama rupa, two types of name and matter. One is internal name and matter. The other is external name and matter. So therefore a little bit profound. So in order to understand a sensory experience, so we can say we in a sensory experience basically mean that one is conscious of name and matter, but that name and matter refers to both internal and external. So in a sensory experience means basically being conscious of something. So in this case, you can see that conscious of something. Here, that aggregate of consciousness is referred. So in the Buddha's teaching, the individual is analyzed into five clinging aggregates, or we can say five aggregates. So they are aggregate of matter, aggregate of feeling, aggregate of perception, and aggregate of mental configurations, and aggregate of consciousness. So in this case, as in earlier I pointed out from a discourse, depending on name and matter, consciousness arises. Depending on consciousness, name and matter arises. So here we can see clearly consciousness is recognized separately. So consciousness aggregate is my being conscious of the other four clinging aggregates. So when you say consciousness aggregate, so consciousness aggregate is my being conscious of four other bodies, or body consisting of four other bodies: matter, feeling, perception, and configurations. So I am conscious of matter in terms of either my body or an external object, or both. So I am conscious of matter in terms of my body. So it could be body, it doesn't need to be the whole body. It can be an eye or ear or nose or tongue or body, depending on what you are actually cognizing, whether it is a sight or sound or smell, taste, touch, or mental image, or an external object like computer, tree, or smell or taste, or both. So in addition, I am conscious of feelings, perceptions, and mental configurations. So in a experience, I am not only conscious of matter, but also I am conscious of feelings, perceptions, and mental configurations. Mental configurations, intention mostly, and attention, contact also. My sensory experience is then I am conscious of something. That something which I am conscious of is present to me or for this eye. So if I take an example, sitting on a comfortable chair, I am conscious of a computer now in front of me. So my present experience is my being conscious of a bundle of matter. So my physical body or sensory object, that is computer, and also my physical body. I'm conscious of my physical body and also sensory object. And also some perceptions, for I experience some color and shape, and also some feelings, for I experience pleasant bodily feelings and pleasant mental feelings, and also some subject to mental configurations, for I experience some intentions, such as this is my chair, or this is my room, or this is my computer. So all these are sort of, we can say, subject to configuration. So in an experience sitting on a chair, I am conscious of a computer. Actually, I am experiencing all of the five thinking aggregates. So matter, perceptions, feelings, and subject to mental configurations. So we can also say that I am conscious of name and matter. The same experience, even if we take, we can say I am conscious of name and matter. So I am conscious of these feelings, perceptions, and configurations because there is a lump of matter called my body. Okay, so since there is a lump of matter called my body, and also a lump of matter called my computer present to me. So therefore, I am also being conscious of feelings, perceptions, configurations. So if there is no a lump of matter called body and lump of matter called computer, actually, I am not going to be conscious of feelings, perceptions, configurations. So if I am not conscious of matter, both my own body and also external sensory object, I will not be conscious of those particular feelings, perceptions, configurations. So in brief, my present experience is my being conscious of name and matter, rather, as we earlier pointed out, twofold name and matter. A bundle of matter that I experience as my body, and a bundle of matter that I experience as my computer. So that's first one is internal name and matter, and the second one is external name and matter. Okay, so in the name, name is basically how that matter, whether it is internal matter or external matter or my body or the computer, how it appears to me. So in this case, how it appears to me is how I am feeling and I am perceiving, I am intending with regard to that object. So whether it's with regard to my body or external object. So therefore, the totality of the aggregates of feelings, perceptions, and configurations is really the way I am conscious of matter. So the totality of these three aggregates, we can call them these three aggregates as the appearance or manifestation of matter as a material object. So the computer is a bundle of matter, but it appears to me. So that appearance of that bundle of matter is basically how I feel about it and how I perceive it and how I am intending towards it. So with regard to those, that appearance or the manifestation of that matter take place. So feeling perception configurations explain how a particular aggregate of matter appears to me, how I perceive that particular aggregate of matter as a percept. So the three aggregates could be taken together as one unit, and we can call it nama or name. So these three aggregates, feeling, perception, configurations, they tell us the manner in which I am that bundle of matter appears to me. So, so therefore, these three aggregates, we can take them together as the Buddha has taken them and call them name or nama. So in this case, the appearance that we use the word appearance or phenomenon or name and matter or material object or percept, or even you can call it a computer. So all mean the same because they are different ways of referring to the same cognized object. So when you say appearance, phenomenon, or name and matter, material object, percept, so all these mean the same. And they are references to the cognized object. So whatever it is. So the term appearance tells the way a bundle of matter is present to me, the way I am conscious of a bundle of matter. The appearance is the way I am conscious of any bundle of matter. It is a reference to name and matter, a sensory object. So this appearance is also something real because it is the way I can cognize any bundle of matter. So whether it's a computer, whether it's another person, whether it's a room or house or tree. So that is how the bundle of matter appears to me. So it becomes phenomenal to me. So it's what you call name and matter, or you can call it a material object or percept. So all means the same. So therefore, this appearance is basically, we can say it is also real because I am conscious of them, conscious of it. So if I am not conscious of, I can say it is not real. But since I am conscious of that appearance, what you call name and matter, so therefore that appearance or that name and matter is also real. So name, the totality of feeling, perception, and mental configurations. Now you can understand what we mean by name or what Buddha mean by name. So they are the name differs from one sensory experience to another. So when I, for example, see a book and my feelings, perceptions, mental configurations are different from when I am seeing a computer. So because computer appears to me as a computer, book appears to me as a book. So therefore, how that bundle of matter, two bundles of matter, one is a book, we call it a book, another we call it a computer. So therefore, that those two bundles of matter appears to me two different ways. So therefore, what makes these two bundles of matter mostly different is how I feel about it, how I perceive it, and how I intend, or what are my mental configurations concerning those that particular thing. So though the general structure of the experience, that is, one is conscious of name and matter, remains similar, at least name must be different in each experience. So we can say with every experience, name is going to be different. Of course, matter also can be different, but even though in two different experiences, at least matter, so the name should be different because my feelings, perceptions, and mental configurations are going to be different. Let's say there are two different persons. So one person I call my son, maybe another person I call a student. And in this case, I am seeing two different persons, but bundle of matter wise, they could be the same. However, but in these two instances, how I feel, how I perceive, how I intend with regard to those these two persons are going to be different. So therefore, these two persons are presented to me in two different ways. So though the general structure of the experience, one is conscious of name and matter, remains similar, at least name, that nama, must be different in each experience. When we see a book, we develop a specific set of feelings, perceptions, and intentions. Intentions, shorter form for these mental configurations. So when we see a computer, we develop another new set of perceptions and intentions. So depending upon feelings, perceptions, intentions, we attribute different values to what we cognize. So therefore, we also name them differently. So we distinguish different types of sensory experience and things by giving them different designations or different names. So in the Buddha's teaching, it's called adhivachana. So I see my phone is one sensory experience. I see my teacup is another sensory experience. So name in its common connotation is this differentiation by designation. So name is the appearance of a lump of matter, as we earlier also pointed out, the object in a conscious experience. Designation pertains to name, that is, name means the appearance of the object. So we refer to the object by this designation, by considering how it appears to the person. So teacup is a designation given to an appearance of a lump of matter in my sensory experience. So there is, for example, a teacup, or we can say lump of matter, but I gave that lump of matter the name or designate it as teacup. So that means that is how that bundle of matter appears to me. It includes how I feel, how I perceive, and how I intend towards that lump of matter. So this appearance, what you call teacup, is the appearance of a lump of matter. So the lump of matter, of course, matter is defined, rupa is defined in the text as the four primary material behaviors, solidity, liquidity, temperature, and motion. So this means, of course, matter could be analyzed in different ways, but Buddha is very practical and pragmatic. So therefore, he analyzed matter to a perceivable level. So that means solidity, liquidity, temperature, and motion. So of course, in the later, maybe let's say Abhidhamma and various other contexts, so you will find this matter is analyzed even into more classifications. And so, but here in the early Buddhist teachings that I am discussing here, basically matter is analyzed into these four primary material behaviors. So indirectly, by way of name, we designate the lump of matter as teacup. So name is a pointer to matter. So this creates two interrelations between name and matter. So since matter has the property of inertia or persistence, so the matter has this quality, this characteristic, what you call persistence or patiga, resistance. So its appearance, what you call name now, nama, is seen to persist, remain the same. So this is basically one big problem. So matter has this characteristic, what you call persistence or resistance, so patiga, but matter appears to me. That means appearance, matter's appearance, what you call nama. That this means feelings, perceptions, and these intentions. So I am seeing these feelings, perceptions, and intentions as they are also lasting or remain the same, like matter lasts. So because matter is understood to last longer, So let's say this computer in front of me now several years. So I am coming and using this computer, and the same computer, I call it a same computer. So whenever I am coming and using the computer, of course, the computer may be the same because it lasts longer, but my feelings, perceptions, and intentions in slightly they are also going to be changed. But however, I am not seeing that change. I don't even wish to see that change. Therefore, I think that this, just like this bundle of matter lasts, this appearance, how that bundle of matter appears to me, that means name, that feelings, perception, and intentions, I also think they also last. So they are also the same. So since matter has the property of inertia, so this inertia means persistence, resistance, in a sensory experience, we discern in name and inertia. So in a sensory experience, I am experiencing or I am discerning inertia even in name, even in the feelings, perceptions, and intentions. But however, that characteristic or that property of inertia, that resistance or persistence, is a property of matter, really. So matter's property I am seeing in the name. So Buddha called this situation inertia in name body. Inertia in name body. Actually, it should be inertia in matter body because matter inertia is a characteristic of matter body. But however, we are seeing inertia also in the name body. So namakaya patiga. So we discern inertia in name. So this means we discern inertia or persistence, resistance in feeling and perception and configurations. So the mundane person thinks that name, feeling, perception, and configurations also last or must last, just like matter lasts. Since appearance, what you call name, has the property of designation. So this appearance, what name has this characteristic of designation, adivachana. So its substance, that means matter, which we cognize, gives that appearance, gives this appearance, is also seen to have the same property, that is designation. So we are seeing this characteristic of name, usually the characteristic of name or nama, feelings, perception, configuration, that unit. So that has the characteristic of designation, but this characteristic when we are cognizing matter or material object, so we are seeing that characteristic in that property, in that matter or in that substance. So in matter basically. So therefore that property of the property of designation, which is a characteristic of nama or name or appearance, but I am seeing that in the matter, in the substance. Since name has the property of designation, the adivachana, we discern in matter, a lump of matter, to a designation. So this is what is happening. So the opposite basically. So the name has this property of designation, but we discern in matter this designation. So Buddha calls this situation designation in matter body, rupakaya adivachana. So designation in matter body, rupakaya adivachana. So consequently, in a sensory experience, there is the contacting of inertia in name body, and also there is the contacting of designation in matter body. So in that Mahanidana Sutta, it says that Namakaya Patiga Sampassa and Rupakaya Adivachana Sampassa. So we are in a sensory experience, we are contacting inertia in name body, but inertia is a characteristic of course matter, but however we are contacting inertia in name body, And we are contacting designation, which is a characteristic of name body, but we are contacting designation in matter body, Rupakai Adivachana Sampasa. So thus the appearance name possesses the property of material behavior, inertia, and the material behavior possesses the property of appearance, name or designation. So this is sort of mutually we are seeing the opposite characteristic in each other. So appearance possesses the property of material behavior, that is inertia, and the material behavior possesses the property of appearance, that means designation. So they are mutually matching very well. So matter is material behavior. That is how it is defined, Bhuta. So four primary modes of material behavior: solidity, liquidity, temperature, and motion. And inertia is the characteristic of matter. So matter, in this case, there is four primary modes of material behavior. And name is the appearance of material behavior. So in a sensory experience, one observes inertia in name body correspond to the appearance substance, that means matter or material behavior. So in a sensory experience, one observes inertia in name body corresponds to that appearance substance or material behavior of appearance. So designation in matter body, Rupakaya Adivachana, corresponds to substance appearance, that means material behavior. So in a sensory experience, one observes both appearance and material behavior. Thus, in a sensory experience, there is a material behavior of appearance and an appearance of material behavior, so matter. So in a sensory experience, one observes appearance, in that case nama, that means feelings, perceptions, configure intentions, and also that material behavior, whatever it is, those four primary material behavior or objects, sensory objects deriving from those four primary material behavior. So in a sensory experience, there is a material behavior of appearance and an appearance of material behavior. So we see that appearance materially behaves and material behavior appears. So the appearance of a teacup materially behaves in a certain way, and the material behavior of a teacup appears in a certain way. There is a good resemblance of the two. Really, we can say there is a good misleading resemblance of the two. All this shows why we cannot speak of matter without name, or of name without matter. So we can't really talk about matter without name. We can't talk about matter without name without matter. So we can speak only in combination. That is why Buddha uses the compound name and matter. So in all contexts, Buddha uses name and matter, nama rupa. So why? Because we can't talk about matter without name. We can't talk about name without matter. So they are inseparable. In an experience, name and matter are inseparable. Again, we cannot speak of a sensory experience in terms of name and matter only. It is always name and matter and consciousness. Because why matter appears to me as name and matter? Because we are conscious of matter. So if we are not conscious of matter, matter will not appear to me as name and matter. So in that case, I will not be able to discern matter, feelings, perceptions, and intentions. Why I am able to discern feelings, perceptions, and intentions and matter? Because I am conscious of. So because if I say I am conscious of, that means I exist. So I exist means I am conscious of. So I am conscious of name and matter all the time. So this situation is profound. Matter is both internal and external to the individual. So internal matter is this cognized body of mind, what you call my body, and the external matter is this cognized sensory object, what we can call a computer or teacup or whatever. So due to the fact that name and matter is cognized matter, and that in a sensory experience there are two kinds of matter, my body and sensory object, we can have two kinds of name and matter. So there is a internal name and matter and external name and matter. So in a sensory experience, actually, we are discerning two kinds of name and matter. So in a sensory experience, we can cognize both the internal matter and an external matter. That means this physical body and this computer in front of me. In the same experience, we can have both kinds of name and matter. The internal is this cognized body of mind, and external is this cognized matter, just now present in front of me or around me. That means basically the world, so the environment. So the internal matter, the self or my body of mind, and the external matter is the cognized matter around me, in front of me. So it can be the computer, table, and room, and all this. So that means basically in an experience, basically we are experiencing my body not in isolation, but my body in relationship to the world. So world that is around me or in front of me. Because of this situation, the Buddha states there is a diet of name and matter. So two types of name and matter. So as in this discourse, it says that, this is from Samyutta Nikaya, hindered by ignorance, fettered by craving, this body has thereby originated. So this body. And so there is just this body. So when we say just this body, basically it's a name and matter internal. And name and matter externally. Okay. So there is just this body and name and matter externally. In this way, there is a diet. So dependent on the diet, there is contact. Okay, so with the contact, so various other, that means experience of pleasure and pain comes. So particularly for us, so that part is good enough. So in this case, body is the designation for the cognized internal matter, and hence it is the name and matter internally. In the Bahya Sutta, there is this expression, when there is a there is a here. Okay? When there is a there basically means a tatta in Pali, and when there is a there is a here either. So there means sensory objects. So what we first become conscious of is the sensory object external. Okay, the world we are seeing first, and then through reflection we come to understand this cognize this body. So here, so when there is a there is a here. So depending upon the cognized matter externally, there is cognized lump of matter internally. So if you don't have that external lump of matter, of course you will not become conscious of internal. So in a sensory cognition, if the sensory cognition is without appropriation, without clinging, as in the case of an arahant, then the six sense bases are also not appropriated. So this perception is taking place through six sense bases. So eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And so therefore six sense bases. So when the person is cognizing, actually he is cognizing together with clinging. So therefore, when we say they the external sensory object, those external sensory objects are appropriated for this I, or this like me. So therefore, Buddha says, when Bahya, you will not be there. So if I, or the subjectivity is not with regard to that external object, then you will neither be here also, and also no yonder, that means this world, and no between the two, that various other factors. So experience is name and matter and consciousness. Now you can understand whatever we call an experience, experience should be name and matter and consciousness. Name and matter is the total cognized matter. So both internal and external. So name and matter is basically referring to the total cognized matter. Internal name and matter, this body. Body could be represented by eye, ear, nose, tongue, and mind, and or external sight, sounds, etc. I am sitting on this chair in this room typing. I am cognizing my own body, that is internal, and I also cognizing the matter around me, such as computer, chair, table. So in a sensory experience, I am not concerned purely and simply with myself, but with myself as constructed by my whole situation. So in a sensory experience, I am not concerned purely or simply with myself, but with myself as constructed by my whole situation. So this myself as constructed by my whole situation is also my world. So in this sense, myself and my world are basically synonymous. So myself become meaningful as long as my world and my world become meaningful as long as we consider myself. So myself is always situated in my world. So both name and matter and consciousness arise simultaneously. So the relationship is basically this reciprocal simultaneity, the relationship between name and matter and consciousness. So as you see that I put name and matter before and then consciousness later. So because name and matter is basically as in the Mahanidana Sutta, it starts with name and matter, depending on name and matter, consciousness. Both name and matter and consciousness arise simultaneously together. So likewise, they also cease together. So name and matter and consciousness arise together, and also they cease together. So that means when one ceases, the other also ceases. So there is no lapse of time between the two. With name and matter and consciousness, if one is there, the other is also there. So we can't talk about name and matter in isolation. Without consciousness, we can't talk about consciousness in isolation without name and matter. If one is there, the other must also be there. Indeed, it cannot be otherwise, precisely because an experience is constituted of both name and matter and consciousness. So when we say experience, experience is basically consisting of both name and matter and consciousness. So that is why in Buddha says nama rupa saha vijnana. So there is an interdependency of name and matter and consciousness. So these two depends on each other, interdependency of name and matter and consciousness. That is what basically in this dependent co-arising or Paticca formulation says, when this is, this is. So when name and matter is, consciousness is. When this is not, when name and matter is not, consciousness is not. So the opposite side also you can say, when consciousness is, name and matter is. And when name and matter, consciousness is not, name and matter is also not. So consciousness supports name and matter supports consciousness. So one is the necessary condition for the other. So therefore, sort of we can say one is the necessary condition. It's not just a condition, but it is the necessary condition for the other. Since each is the other's condition, there is a relationship of simultaneity. They arise together, they persist together, they cease together. There is a total reciprocal simultaneity, total reciprocal dependence between them. So with name and matter as condition, consciousness, that now you can understand what it means in the Mahanidana Sutta. With name and matter as condition, consciousness. With consciousness as condition, name and matter. So it is also expressed in the Mahapadana Sutta, just the sutta before that Mahanidana Sutta. There also it says, in consciousness being there, name and matter is there. Dependent on consciousness, there is name and matter. The other way also it is said, in name and matter is being there, consciousness is there. Dependent on name and matter, there is consciousness. This statement is very interesting. This consciousness turns back from name and matter. It does not go beyond. So consciousness can go as far as name and matter is. Basically, that means name and matter. Now we earlier came even external name and matter, external world or the world. So therefore, the consciousness is always situated in the world. So the consciousness turns back from name and matter. So that means there is you can't be conscious of beyond name and matter. Whatever we are conscious of, we are conscious of name and matter. So our existence basically means we are conscious of name and matter. So it does not go beyond. So for Buddhists, basically, existence basically means we are conscious of name and matter. So we are conscious of matter really, but matter appears to us as name and matter. So together with that matter, we are also experiencing feelings, perceptions, and intentions. So that is why Buddha says in this particular sutta, thus far Ananda one may be born, decay, die, fall, arise. So this is the world. We are being born and dying and arising, ceasing. Thus far there is the way of designation. Thus far there is a way of language. So this far, as long as we can talk about name and matter, that is basically the consciousness and name and matter. That is basically the range that we can talk about. So that is the world. That is the world of experience. So beyond the world of experience, actually we can't talk about. So because that language will not work. So there is Buddha is not really interested and because for the person, for the individual, for everyone, what we call my world or the world or my life, basically consciousness and name and matter. So, our language, our talking about, our being born, dying, and everything within this world. So within this world basically means within my experiential world. So what I am experiencing, I am conscious of name and matter. So conscious of name and matter basically we can reduce conscious of matter, but that matter appears to me as name and matter. But name and matter also we said it is also real. So because that is how I am cognizing the sense that object or lump of matter. So once whole of life runs its course, being an experience of name and matter and consciousness. Okay, so this is how our life and our continuity, our existence, what you call samsara. So this is being an experience of name and matter and consciousness. There is no way out of it unless we realize nibbana. So always our experience is experience of name and matter, or we can even say experience of the five aggregates. So in the case of the mundane person, both name and matter and consciousness, or the five aggregates with clinging. So in the case of mundane person, these five aggregates or these name and matter and consciousness are actually with clinging, saupadana. So five aggregates for five clinging aggregates. So therefore, what the mundane person is experiencing, in addition to these five aggregates, actually we are experiencing clinging. That means that those aggregates or this name and matter consciousness are together with clinging. So because the mundane person's consciousness indicates an I, so why this clinging with subjectivity, this consciousness always indicates an I. Why it indicates an I and self? Because we are ignorant. So as Buddhism point out. So since we are ignorant, so our consciousness, so we haven't really seen the true nature of reality as they truly are, this consciousness and name and matter as they truly are. So therefore, we are actually positing an I and self in it. So it's in them. And so therefore, so the mundane person's consciousness always indicate an I and self. So his name and matter also concerns an I and myself. So therefore, whatever he experienced as name and matter or those material objects, percepts, they also concern that I and myself. So we can't really be free from the I and self without removing ignorance. So as long as ignorance remains, the consciousness always indicate this subjectivity, this I, this clinging, this myself. So as a result, so name and matter that we are taking, whether your own body or external sensory objects, they are also appropriated as this is mine, this am I, this is myself. Right? This, if the indicative consciousness or consciousness of an I or myself has ceased, and if the consciousness does not indicate an I or myself, then the name and matter concerning an I and myself must also have ceased. So if this I, this it does not, that consciousness does not indicate an I, that means if we have removed ignorance, this also means that name and matter that we are cognizing, that matter that we are cognizing also does not concern an I and self. So the Arahant consciousness does not indicate an I and myself. So Arahant consciousness does not indicate I and myself because he has removed ignorance. So hence his name and matter too does not concern an I. So therefore whatever he experiences in the sense in the world as name and matter or sensory objects or there as a world, so it does not concern an I. So he's not appropriating things as for me or for I. Cessation of name and matter that you may have heard about this Nama Rupa Nirodha. So this Nama Rupa Nirodha concerns the Arahant basically. So name and matter for the Arahant is completely devoid of any subjectivity. So Arahant, for the Arahant, this name and matter, that means the world that he is experiencing is devoid of any subjectivity. Without subjectivity, there can be no suffering. If there is no subjectivity, then there is no suffering, as Buddha says. So therefore, sort of in an experience, we actually, since there is an I, consciousness indicate an I, and also the external objects that appearance also indicate an I, or they are concerned for me or I. So therefore, in a sensory experience of a body, there are a designation contact and an inertia contact of an I and myself. So as there is ignorance, there is also designation contact and inertia contact of an I. So in addition to those the inertia, we earlier pointed out this name and matter. So the how people are contacting designation contact in material body and inertia designation contact in material body and inertia contact in name body. But in addition to those contacting, they are also contacting an I and myself. Designation contact of an I or myself is the specific name is in addition to identifying I and myself. Inertia contact of an I and myself means specific inertia is in addition identified I and myself. So therefore I and myself are also seen as lasting and permanent. And just like that our understanding with regard to matter. So matter lasts, though not for forever, but they last. So in an experience or in several experiences, so you can experience the same matter. So therefore we see matter lasting, just like I earlier pointed out, like a computer. So then with every time I am experiencing this computer, I am also in my consciousness also indicate an I, and then computer become my computer. Okay, so it cannot be just computer, but it become my computer because I am seeing it as an I. So this means my internal body, whatever I am thinking, it's also concerned and indicate an I. With the contacting by designation inertia, in the case of a mundane person, the identification of an I, myself take place. So when ignorance has ceased, designation contact and inertia contact are there, but no identification of I and myself whatsoever takes place. So in the case of the Arahant, of course, experience as long as Arahant lives, so he will be experiencing the world. So he will be conscious of name and matter, but of course, in his case, he is not contacting an I and myself with regard to oneself. That means with regard to this body, and also with regard to external world. So that means he's not appropriating things as for me. So there is still a body, but there is no body for me. So there is what is called cessation of contact. So this is what in the text it says cessation of contact concerning an Arahant. So just conclude today's talk. Any experience is the totality of the five clinging aggregates at a given moment in space and time. So with whatever experience that you are you want to explain, basically that experience, you can explain it as the totality of the 5 clinging aggregates if one is a mundane person. In any sensory experience is my being conscious of name and matter. So whatever sensory experience we take, any sensory experience is my being conscious of name and matter, nama rupa. So name and matter is how one experiences, cognizes, or become conscious of matter or material behavior. So any experience could be analyzed into name and matter and consciousness, or into 5 aggregates. In the case of the mundane person, into 5 clinging aggregates. So the mundane person's sensory experience is with clinging, and for that experience is of an I and myself. So this is because the mundane person's 5 aggregates are undoubtedly the 5 clinging aggregates. So in the case of the mundane person's 5 aggregates are not just 5 aggregates, but they are with clinging. So that means they are clinging aggregates. For he or she takes these aggregates to be I or myself. So what the mundane person takes as the I or myself, basically these are 5 aggregates. So that is it for today. So I think if you have any questions, you can ask or you can type whatever. So hope you can grasp something out of this.
Thank you, Dr. Somaratne.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting subject. I think it was the first time we have dwelled into the Dhamma so deeply, and it's so technical and profound. I think even some of the viewers are still trying to grasp the concepts that you have just expounded. But there is one question. I will just throw it onto the screen.
Yeah, okay. Is there no name and matter and consciousness exists? Does it mean we have attained Nibbana? Yeah, so of course, as long as one is, we can recognize the name and matter and consciousness, that is basically existence. So that means one is conscious of matter. But as long as one is conscious of matter, one is conscious of name and matter, because basically that matter appears to us as name and matter. Yes, so if we are not conscious of, that means we are not in existence. So if as long as we are conscious of, that means we are in existence. Okay, any other question? I hope it works. Okay. Human life is most precious because we can feel and think according to your comments. Yes. So yes, human life is of course precious, and also the Buddha also pointed out. So only the humans can understand even the suffering properly, because let's say like in hell too much pain or suffering, and in heaven so much pleasure. But human beings basically they can feel both suffering and pleasure. So therefore we can actually assess and we can evaluate, and we can consider sort of and also we can see that impermanence and not selfness, unsatisfactoriness, or the only human beings can perceive, because they have this intellect, so they have the mind, this conscious of, and they have these 5 faculties, with what you call faculty of saddha, the confidence of faith, and the energy, and mindfulness, and concentration, and wisdom. So these are sort of 5 factors that all humans got. And so therefore human life is precious, and human life can understand things better, and they are the ones who are capable of attaining nibbana. So, and even ending this I and myself, basically removing ignorance. Okay. Any other? Yeah, without subjectivity there can be no suffering. Does it mean not self? Yeah, if there is no subjectivity, there cannot be suffering. Subjectivity means basically clinging. So clinging means clinging to a self view. And on underlying that there is this conceit I am. So because in a sensory experience, it always indicates a subject, subject I, and that conceit I am. So on top of it, we build up this self notion. Yes, that is Yes. What is the question? Okay, without subject. Yeah. Yeah. So that means if there is no self, basically, if my experience does not indicate an I and self, basically, there is no subjectivity. That means no clinging. So Arahant case, for example, no subjectivity, no clinging. So therefore, Arahant, we say that they are not suffering, but other people, they are suffering. Suffering means mental suffering, anxiety, worry, and these things. So, what is the difference between mind and consciousness? Yeah. So, consciousness is, we can say, synonymous with mind. So, it's no problem. But in the Buddha's teaching, the mind is taken as consciousness in this particular analysis, for example. So, they are, we can say, synonymous. But then there is this whole range of what appearance of feelings, perceptions, and intentions. So in the Western classification, those things are included in mind. But in the Buddhist classification, I think we need to analyze this experience, this experiential world into not mind and matter. Of course, if we mean by that mind all these things, then it's okay. But however, since there is a problem in that classification, we have to classify as consciousness or mind and name and matter, or consciousness and name and matter. Okay. Any other?
Well, thank you, Doctor. I think that was the last of the questions for this evening. So I think
Okay.
there are some people who are still curious to know about this deep subject, actually. And so we've come to the end of this evening's Dhamma sharing. So before we end, let me take this opportunity to thank Dr. Somaratne on behalf of the Committee of Management and as well as the monks of the Buddhist Mahavihara, and also to the sponsors this evening for sponsoring this evening's Dhamma sharing, and to our viewers who stayed with us this whole 1 hour or so and followed Dr. Somaratne and his explanation on consciousness and name and matter. And I hope you had grasped the concepts, which if you haven't, I think you need to go and view this video again. So go to our Facebook page, the video will be there, and maybe you might need to view the video once or twice again to understand fully the concepts here.
Okay.
Because this is quite an academic subject, Doctor. So I think many people are trying to grasp the concept. So, and
Yeah, no,
anyway,
it's somewhat simple.
yeah,
But of course, in the Buddhists tend to mystify things,
yeah,
and so they think that some of the subject matter that the Buddha discuss are difficult. But if we approach the subject matter with a positive attitude, that
yeah,
they are basically things that people can understand.
yes,
So that approach should be always that we try to understand. So yeah, that's as you suggested. If the viewers or they could not understand it, so they can view that
yeah,
video
yeah,
again,
at their
and
own
then
pace.
review
Yeah, yeah,
reflection. Yeah. So of
yeah,
course, this topic cannot be explained as this within 1 hour. There should be so many other things that people need to understand, some sort of background knowledge.
yes,
Okay, so but since this is a video, so I think people can reflect, and yeah, so thank
yes.
you. Okay, okay,
Thank you, Doctor.
thank
And
you.
so, for one and all, have a pleasant evening and be safe in this pandemic. And hope to see you soon. Hope to see you soon again, Doctor. We'll try to invite you
Okay,
again
so
if the
thank
time
you.
permits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good night. Yeah.
Good night.